Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for returning for another segment. We're going to be speaking with Dr. Shalini Singh. She's joining us here from Roche Diagnostics to talk about the FDA's approval of the first companion diagnostic for HER2 low metastatic breast cancer. Welcome to Health Professional Radio. Dr. Singh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Neil. It's a pleasure to be over here.
Now, I did, of course, mention that you're joining us here from Roche Diagnostics. What is your current position at Roche Diagnostics, and give us a bit of your professional background?
Sure, Neil. My current position title is Chief Medical Partner for Oncology for Roche Diagnostics. I am based in Tucson, in Arizona, in the United States, and I have been with the company for 14 years now. I've always been based in Tucson, in Arizona. I am a pathologist by training. And I did my residency in the United States in Tucson, Arizona, but my MD from India.
Well, explain for our listeners who may not be familiar, what is HER2 as far as HER2 metastatic breast cancer, and what does it mean to have HER2 low status?
As you know, like breast cancer, it's the second most common cancer in the world. And nearly every year, about 2.1 million people, they're diagnosed worldwide with breast cancer. And approximately 600,000 people, they die from breast cancer. And out of all the breast cancers which a person can have, about 15 to 20% are HER2 positive. And what I mean by HER2 positive is that they have this kind of a protein expression, which is present in their breast cancer, and their targeted therapies are for this cancer. And the first targeted therapy was in 1998, which was approved by the FDA, which is called Herceptin. And since then, there have been other targeted therapies for HER2 positive women. And they have tremendously changed the world for women and for these HER2 positive populations. And what do I mean by HER2 positive is that there is a specific protein expression which we can see on the breast cancer cell. And when the expression of is 3+ or 2+, that is staining very intensely, there's a whole scoring system around it. And those women, they can be given targeted therapy. Whereas up till now, the women who had low expression of this HER2 protein, they had no treatment option, or if they had, or no gene amplification, they had no treatment option. So this is the first time that these women, who we call now as HER2 low women, they have the targeted therapy, which has just been approved by the FDA, and that opens up a huge potential for treatment for these women. And approximately, Neil, 40 to 50% of women, they fall into this category of HER2 low, for which they had no personalized medicine or targeted treatment up till now. There has been a huge unmet medical need in this population.
So how many will this test impact? You said how many of them percentage were HER2 low?
So I'll say 40 to 50% of women, they are in this category of HER2 low, and for them, there was no treatment available. So these are the women who can now potentially be tested, and if they fall into this category, now they can be given this treatment, have the potential treatment, targeted treatment for themselves.
So what is the name of this recently approved treatment?
It's called ENHERTU. And this is the one which has been approved by the FDA, and along with the test to make sure that those women are HER2 low, and then they can only be given this treatment.
Can you talk a bit about the trial that led up to the approval?
Absolutely. So one thing what we had to do for this trial was to get the approval from the FDA, that we had two arms. One arm was the standard of care, and one arm was with this drug, and it's a randomized control trial, and it's called Destiny trial. What we observed was that overall progression-free survival in these women was double than the standard of care in the women who were in this treatment arm, which is called. So that also helped that the overall survival in these women was doubled compared to the normal therapy which was given. And another thing was there that approximately it was like 49% reduction in the risk of progression of disease in these women when they were given this drug. So that was the reason that, there is such a significant improvement or benefit in these women in the progression-free as well as overall survival. And that was the reason for the FDA approval.
Well, expound a bit more on the trials, if you would, as far as how it was designed a bit more.
So basically, like as any trial, what we have is that we have to obviously make sure that the test is working correctly. So we had to lock down the protocol for that one. And we had to do the standardization of the test itself, instrument and detection. So that's the first thing, right? Mm-hmm. And when the patients are enrolled, then we have to make sure that the pathologists anywhere who are reading this clinical trial, that they can absolutely read it also. So for that, we had to train the pathologist also. And then once the pathologists were trained, then we had to go back and make sure that the patients are read by that way, by the method which we have trained these patients on, and then they're enrolled in the clinical trial on that aspect also.
So what else about this approval excites you? I mean, obviously bringing lots of hope to a lot of patients, but what else excites you specifically about this new approval and ENHERTU becoming available?
The one thing which really excites me about this drug, as well as the test, is that up to now, these women, they had never had any opportunity to be treated, right? And so for me, that is one of the biggest things that is happening, is that there is treatment available for these women now. And that excites me the most, that 40 to 50% of these patients now have a potential treatment for them, which is a huge thing. Up to now, all the focus has been on the HER2 positive women and not on HER2 low women. And this is the first trial which has shown that. So that is a big, huge thing for women in general.
Well, is there anything that you'd like to add for our listeners? And then if there's a website that we can have to learn more, please give us that.
So on our Roche website, the Roche Diagnostic websites, we have a link by which you can click on it and you can learn more about HER2 low diagnostic test, and also in general about breast cancer and different tests which are available for women. And we have quite a few tests which are available for women in breast cancer, apart from HER2 also. There are other tests like hormone receptor tests, which is ER, PR, and other Ki-67 also. And on that website, it also explains how a pathologist in anywhere in the world, they can also read about and train themselves also about this HER2 low test also.
Well, Dr. Singh, I appreciate you joining us here on Health Professional Radio. Thank you so much for your time this evening. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Dr. Shalini Singh. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at Anchor, Spotify, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.